Hello and welcome to this week's F1 Kids podcast with me, your host Daniel, and my dad Phil.
Hello.
Today's podcast is a review of the Portuguese Grand Prix.
Correct. From Portimao.
Yeah, really exciting track, really exciting race.
Second year in a row we've had this track. So last year it was kind of drafted in as a replacement for the difficult calendar that we had, and then this year I'm not sure. I can't remember, to be honest, if it was drafted in to replace something or if it was just decided that it should be kept.
Because it's really exciting.
It's a good track, isn't it? Lots of undulations. It looks really cool to drive as well. Certainly more interesting than some of the Herman Tilke tracks that we do visit. So I think everyone was excited and pleased to see Portimao back. Although this year is a lot earlier on in the year, so a lot warmer. I think it was wet last year, wasn't it, at the beginning? So
was it?
Yeah, it definitely was. Yeah, definitely was. Some of them started on inters. So definitely it's like a really different race this year. And a different quality as well.
Right, so quick word on qualifying. I think George Russell was the star of qualifying, almost making it into Q3.
He was, so he came 11th, so one place away from Q3, which is an excellent performance. We had a couple of standout performances the other way as well.
Daniel Ricciardo not even making it into Q2.
Yeah, I can't remember if anything specific happened there, but that was a real letdown. Interesting how so many commentators and kind of armchair critics were saying that Daniel Ricciardo was going to absolutely smash Norris this year. Hasn't quite worked out that way just yet, has it? But we'll see. We'll see how it pans out. Just another word on qualifying, Danny, before we continue. Seb Vettel in the top 10 for the first time this year.
And Bottas getting the pole.
Yeah, so that means, well, we'll talk about predictions later, but it means we were both completely wrong. But that was good for Seb Vettel. Maybe he would be able to convert that into a decent race finish. Well, we'll find out over the next 10 or 15 minutes.
Right, so I'm going to do my three stories.
Straight into the three big stories,
Yep,
okay.
So the first one was the really long safety car, which was very unnecessary.
Right. So you're talking about the safety car. So the safety car happened really... Was it even at the end of the very first lap?
No, I think it was deployed when the car that was crashed out Raikkonen was on the first corner gravel.
Right, but what I mean is that was at the end, just as the first lap finished.
Yep.
Well, you talk us through what happened.
So, on the end of the first lap, Giovinazzi and Raikkonen had a bit of a coming together, and Raikkonen's front wing started flying off everywhere. And he drove off straight on the first corner and into the service road. So
it looked like a bit of a brain fade moment for Raikkonen. I almost called him Ricciardo then. For Raikkonen, wasn't he? He literally ran into Giovinazzi, didn't he? So Giovinazzi couldn't have been blamed. It looked like Giovinazzi might have picked up a puncture as well. So obviously he didn't. So he was pretty lucky to have not got that. It was quite a hefty smack on the rear wheel, wasn't it?
Yeah, so there was a safety car there for, I think it was 6 laps.
It was 6
laps. Very
laps.
Unnecessary.
Yeah, you were adamant at the time, weren't you, that it should have been a virtual safety car?
Yep, because he drove about a few metres away from the service road. That's not going to take 6 laps to push into the thing.
I think the safety car was more about the amount of debris on the circuit rather than Raikkonen's car. Now, I don't know, you might know this rule, but I don't. Is the virtual safety car, if that's deployed, are they allowed to go through the pit lane?
No.
So that's why it was a safety car then, because they had to go through the pit lane. So by the end of lap 6, apparently they'd all done like 4 pit stops or something, hadn't they? Because they then did a couple of laps without going through the pit lane, didn't they? Yeah. Which is when we were really getting cross, saying, come on, get racing.
Eventually, when we did get racing, though.
Well, there was one driver who wasn't really aware of the fact that the racing got underway again. Hamilton. Do you know what I mean? He got overtaken by Verstappen?
Yeah, he got overtaken by Verstappen. Sorry, my head just went...
Yeah, obviously this is a podcast, so you can't see, but Daniel just stared at me as if I was talking about a different race completely.
Okay, yeah, but Hamilton sort of had the jump... Verstappen had the jump on Hamilton because Hamilton was trying to guess when Bottas was going to go.
But he got it completely wrong.
Yeah.
Is I think where I was going.
He was about 1 million years too late.
About 1 million years. Approximately 1 million years too late.
Yeah.
Okay. So that put Hamilton back in third, which I think kind of segs us nicely into your next big story.
So Hamilton, after being in third, got a bit fed up, so he was gonna go really hard racing, and Verstappen made a bit of a mistake, and it's incredible how much faster with the DRS Mercedes are than Red Bull.
Yeah, I mean, well, that's probably...
Well, settings.
Yeah, it's not likely to be just about engine power anymore, isn't it? Because we know that the Honda is also a very powerful engine now, but it's probably to do with aero setup for the weekend.
So probably Red Bull more on corners and Mercedes on straights.
But like you say, Verstappen had a little bit of a moment, didn't he, in turn 14, I think it was. And that... It just allowed Hamilton to get just a little bit closer, didn't it? And then the closing speed was spectacular.
Yeah.
But it was still, I mean, Verstappen still came across the circuit quite a lot.
Kind
and
of
Hamilton
went
had to really aggressively turn right, didn't he?
I think he went onto the gravel a bit, so he lost some time there.
Not quite the gravel, but it was like the dirty part of the track. But it was a good overtake nonetheless. And then what else? Because this is a big story. Well, Hamilton overtakes, you've said.
Few laps later, he... caught Bottas a bit off guard and sailed past him into the first corner.
He did, but he went round the outside of Bottas after having gone round the inside of Verstappen.
I think Bottas was trying to make it harder for Hamilton to get the overtake done.
Well, he probably assumed he'd want to take the inside and kind of went that way himself. So Bottas had started on pole,
moved down,
was leading the race down to second at that point. Yeah.
Well, so then the pit stops happened. So Verstappen went first. Bottas came in second. Lost out to Verstappen.
He did. Well, he didn't have a really bad stop, did he? But he was
bit of a moment.
3 and a bit seconds his stop, so like a second longer than they'd like it to be. And as you say, he did have a moment, didn't he? Which allowed Verstappen to get alongside, and then quite a spectacular overtake in the end.
And what I thought was spectacular about Hamilton again is when he pitted, he still managed to overtake Perez, who hadn't pitted yet. Just shows how fast Hamilton was.
He was, yeah. He was really on it, wasn't it? Hence why your second big story was the Hamilton overtakes. So a lot of on track passing for Hamilton this weekend.
Then towards the end of the race, my third story, the fastest lap battle.
So just to pick up on that, towards the end of the race, so actually the race did become a little bit static towards the end, didn't it? There was a lot going on around the stops, a lot going on in the midfield, a lot of position changes, but up front it all went a bit static, didn't it?
Until was it Perez who came in onto the softs to try for the fastest lap, which made Bottas pit, then Verstappen
So they did it in reverse order. So the person who was fourth, then third, then second.
So they all went for
actually they all got the fastest lap.
Yeah, but all in a different order. I think Hamilton also asked if he could pit as well, which was too late as he was on the final lap. So when Verstappen got the fastest lap, it was taken away from him for track limits.
But he didn't even find that out until after the race.
Yeah,
he found it out during one of his media interviews. So that's a nice moment for everyone to savour.
About track limits, Yuki Tsunoda, third race in a row, been getting in trouble for track limits. Not the best at staying on the track.
Well spotted. He did actually, didn't he?
Yeah, almost getting penalties.
Yeah, Red Bull were quite upset about the whole track limits thing this weekend.
Verstappen lost out in qualifying as well.
What do you think about track limits? I think that it's a little bit too complicated. Sometimes some corners they're allowed to run off, and other corners they're absolutely not allowed to run off.
Yeah, it just gets really confusing.
Yeah, for me it would just be easier to say you can't do it anywhere.
Or if it's on a corner where you can gain an advantage. I think that's what they already do.
Yeah,
anyway.
But that's exactly what they already do. Yeah, it is what they already do. I mean, I think it's MotoGP. They use some technology which registers if a bike has gone over the white line where there's track limits in place, and then they get a penalty automatically. So maybe Formula 1 could do something similar to that. I don't know.
Well, so moving on to the finishing order now.
Yep.
Hamilton won, Verstappen came second, Bottas came third with that fastest lap, Perez fourth, Norris came fifth. Good races from Norris.
Yeah, I mean, it was a bit of a quiet one this for Norris, but still, that's best of the rest, which is probably, the best he can hope.
Sixth was Leclerc, quite an improvement for Ferrari after last year. Ocon was next, then Alonso, 9th Ricciardo, 10th Gasly. Ricciardo making a good comeback.
Yep, so he made great progress during the race, actually. I think he made up about 6 or 7 places, didn't he?
Yeah, so
in fact, why don't you tell us about your heroes and zeros?
My hero was Ricciardo for making up all those places, qualifying 16th.
That was it, 16th in qualifying and finishing in 9th, so 7 places gained.
That's pretty good driving.
Yep.
And then my hero team was Alpine, double points finish for them.
First double points finish for Alpine, and that was the first points finish for Alonso.
Nice.
This season.
So he's back in the points.
Yeah, and Ocon dealing with the Alonso teammate situation pretty well, I think. Ocon's really been performing well this season so far, so that's great.
And my zeros, Raikkonen, the only person to not finish the race, and he hardly even completed a lap.
Yeah, I can't argue with that really. Raikkonen
Terrible
didn't
race.
do himself any favours, did he, in this race?
No.
I'll tell you also who, if it was up to me, I'd consider as one of the zeros would be George Russell.
Oh yeah, he really lost out after a really promising qualifying position.
Strong qualifying.
He just fell back down the order.
16th he finished.
So that brings me on to my zero team.
Yeah.
Williams just having pretty bad race. Drivers dropping down across the order.
So we even had the Haas of Mick Schumacher finishing ahead of Latifi. So that's great for Mick, but pretty poor for Williams. You're absolutely right.
Yeah.
Just a final word on the race. How many times did Mazepin spin this race? None.
That's pretty good.
That's pretty good going. So massive improvement there for the Russian driver. Let's keep a keen eye on that for the next race.
And so the points now.
Yes.
So in the Drivers' Championship, Hamilton is on 69 points in the lead. Verstappen's on 61. Norris is on 37.
Holding on to third place.
Ahead of Bottas on 32. Leclerc's on 28. Perez is on 22. Not very good for a Red Bull driver.
No.
Then Ricciardo's on 16, Sainz is on 14, Ocon's on 8, and Gasly's on 7.
So that's your top 10.
A few more people do have points, but not many.
But we only stick to the top 10 then, don't we?
And Mercedes already on 101 points.
Okay.
With Red Bull on 83, McLaren on 53, Ferrari on 42, Alpine on 13, AlphaTauri on 9, Aston Martin 5, Alfa Romeo, Williams and Haas all on 0.
And they are in that order in the championship as well. So, okay.
Predictions now.
I don't really want to talk about this, to be honest.
Right, so I went for 2 kilos of ham.
And I went for Verstappen.
So we were both incredibly wrong on the qualifying predictions.
Yep.
And I was incredibly right on the race prediction.
You were, and I obviously was not. So
4-1 to me.
Yeah, 1 point for you, 0 for me. As you said, it's 4-1. So
not very good.
I'm not really sure how I'm going to pull this back, given that you pretty much always just say Hamilton, and you quite often just get 1 point at least every week.
Well,
I'm trying to do something a bit different. So Spain is next, so that's not
Boring
great news,
race.
is it? Because it is one of the worst races of the year.
So whoever gets pole is likely to win.
Yes. So who do you think is
No,
going to
who
be
do
on
you
pole?
think?
Well, I'm going to say Verstappen.
You've got to go for Verstappen now, because whoever gets pole is definitely going to win.
I'm going to say Verstappen on pole, and then there's going to be some gearbox or engine trouble for Verstappen.
So Hamilton's going to win.
Hamilton's going to win.
Well, I'm going to be boring again, but as Hamilton is probably the king of Spain, even though a few years ago he crashed out with his teammate. I'm still going to go ham. Because at least I will, if Hamilton wins the race, we both get a point. If Hamilton does both, I get 2 points.
One day you're going to have to pick someone other than Hamilton.
Yeah, but if it's a race someone else is the best at, then yeah.
Well, we'll see. We'll see. So we've only got a few days to wait for that one. So that's good. And we'll hopefully get that one out of the way nice and quickly, and then we can move onwards with the rest of the season onto better races.
So that's bringing us to the end of the podcast. And before we finish, I need to mention that don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel.
Yep.
And submit any questions via Twitter or in the comments.
The comments on YouTube, that is.
Yeah.
So, good stuff.
Bye from me.
And it's bye from me.